RPG a Day 2023, and we're up to day 24. The complex stroke simple RPG you play. So, um, I could go complex, I could go simple. I thought I might talk about the Black Hack, which I think is one of the simpler games that I've played that we had a lot of fun with. But I think, um, harking back to a couple of days ago, I am going to talk about Conan. Um, like I say, I really like Conan. I talked a little bit about momentum, about Doom, about the way that focuses things around the game. Um, it is though a little, it's a little bit crunchy. It's a little bit, I mean, it's on the games that I play, it's probably one of the most complex ones that I do play. Um, and I struggle to stay on top of all of the rules. And it's a game that I need to have reference sheets for. I need to have stuff on the side because there's an awful lot of terms. At the moment, I'm playing every other Monday night and I'm running that one. And I'm playing in Nick's game every Tuesday night. And even with that, so it's a game that I'm 3 games a fortnight I'm playing. I keep finding myself going, okay, so with weapon qualities, what does vicious do? How does this work? What's the difference between vicious and unforgiving? Those two I keep getting not right in my head, and it matters. Um, I still don't fully play with reach and with guard and the sorcery rules. I'm trying to get my head round. They're not actually too bad. I went back and revisited them. Um, so there's an awful lot going on. There's a lot of sort of little bits and pieces that I have to play with. So on saying that, what is it about Conan that I do like, given how complex the the rules are? So I think one of the things I like about it, I really like it's got a life path character generation system. So you can either choose or you can roll at each step. But so you start off choosing where your character comes from, so what their homeland was. If you come from Aquilonia, then I think you pick up and you pick up traits every time you pick something. You pick up traits. So cosmopolitan makes it easier for you to talk to people that don't speak the same languages as you, because of the kind of country that Aquilonia is. If you end up with Shem, you get some different stuff. So for every decision you build bits into your character. So like Homeland, everybody does like it's similar in D&D to what race are you, except in Conan everybody's human, you're just from different countries. But so you pick that, you pick or roll what caste you were born into. And obviously, you gain certain skills or you get to pick from certain skills at that point. You have a story which gives you certain stuff and you get a sort of an outline. So it could be something like, um, if your caste is crafter, you could have an exalted mark, a gifted mark, pressed into war, too many closed minds. There's a whole stack of stuff in these rules where you build a little bit in. And like, if I pick, say, 5th edition D&D, there's backgrounds in there, but it is just a background and it's a bit nebulous. These I like. So, Blessed Harvest, you remember fondly how hard work made the ground spill its bounty and the seasons seemed to be fair. You remember fellowship with your loved ones. Where are they now? So you get something, and likewise, there'll be skills associated with this, but it gives you a little prompt that you want to answer. And that's quite neat because it builds this through. You pick what archetype you are, and the archetypes are The standard stuff from like Archer, Barbarian, etc. Um, there's a number of them. They give you things a little bit like class in other systems. Nature education's an interesting one. So how did you learn what you did? But the thing that I like about these is you know where you came from. You know what your early life, or you get to choose what your early life was like. There's a war story at the end. What I find when I create characters for Conan is it's very easy to hit the ground running. The system's not actually that complicated. There are choices to make. Um, Even if you do kind of a random roll, there's still points where you assign things yourselves. Um, but you come out with a rounded idea of who this character could be. And I really like that in a game. There's a couple of games. I mean, the classic life path system was Traveller. But there's a couple of places that where I've come across it. This one works really well. I like the fact that I hit the ground running. Um, Not to go on too long, I really like the way that weapons work in Conan. Um, there are obviously there's a whole stack of different weapons. There's multiple different types of swords, there's multiple different types of knives and daggers and clubs, flails, axes, all of the kind of stuff. There's only 5 pole arms, so Gary Gygax might be a bit unhappy, but there's a decent number of them. What I like about them is you can see they've got different qualities to them. Um, so if I go back a few, so broadsword has parrying. There is a cost to parrying anytime you're attacked in Conan, um, unless you have a weapon that has parrying, in which case it's one less, which means that it can cost you nothing. The same with shields. So if you've got a shield and a sword, you can parry at one less cost. You can parry 3 times around without having to pay the GM Doom for it. So, that's great. However, if you've got an axe that has vicious, vicious means that if you hit somebody with that axe, they will, and you do a harm rather than just you can do sort of minor damage that will wear somebody down, or you can actually wound them. If you wound them once, then and your weapon has vicious, you wound them twice. So you don't get to parry for free, but your attacks, if you make a good attack, it's really devastating. 2 wounds is a lot. It's enough to take out a toughened opponent, um, and it's really bad news because for every wound, your difficulty of anything you do gets higher. So all of these have, you have a military flail has knockdown. So if you roll an effect, that's going to knock somebody down. They can pay to stay up, but the more effects you've rolled, the more likely they are not to want to do that. And likewise, piercing means that they cut straight through armor, because armor in this game takes away damage. So I really, really like the way that weapons work. It means that an axe doesn't feel like a sword. It means that a wood axe is not the same as a battle axe. And it's not just that you're rolling a slightly different dice. There are very, very different very, very different rules in there that change what you're doing. Um, Armor likewise has various stuff around it. So I like that. I think that works really, really well. And the combats, it's not complicated, but it does mean you need a reference sheet or the character needs to know what their weapon does. What I'm finding in Nick's game on Tuesdays is pretty quickly people are understanding, okay, my weapon does that. And you roll the dice and you see the symbol that says, okay, this one scored an effect. You know how much damage you're likely to be doing. You know what extra special effects you've got. It's granular, but it's also kind of generally okay. But you do need reference sheets to play it. So I think I'm guessing I've rambled on for a good long time. I find game works really well. There are some even more granular things. There's a whole stack of stuff about God. There's a whole stack of stuff about reach. So a longer weapon fighting a shorter weapon, it's more difficult for the shorter weapon to hit them unless the shorter weapon gets inside the guard of the longer weapon. At which point, the guy with the pole arm now can't defend from the dagger because the guy's managed to get inside and he's now free to just keep stabbing him. They're really good rules. They're just a bit overly complex. You need a play group that likes interacting with rules. Great for board gamers who like complicated games. Um, but at the same point, like I say, the momentum, what I found with the momentum in particular is it focuses everybody on the table during combat. Very rarely in a Conan game, if I had somebody sitting back waiting for their turn, you're focused on what's going on. And it's also surprisingly narrative. It works really, really well like that. So yeah, Conan, I think probably the most complex game that I play regularly. I'm not sure that it's more complex than Pathfinder 2, which I've played, but again, Pathfinder 2 plays pretty smoothly. So yeah, unfortunately, you can't still buy it because the license is gone. But complex games, I really like it. There's stuff in it that it does really, really well. And it's surprising, given how complex it is, that it just keeps coming back. And I either end up playing in other people's games or I run it. Say I'm running it at the moment, then I'll take a break. And in a year or so's time, I may well go back and run Wave-Stained Crimson for my regular group because I'm really enjoying it. And it's another opportunity to get Conan at the table. So anyway, I have rambled on long enough. That's why I like Conan, even though it's really complex, and some of the reasons why it's complex. Um, have a good day. I'll talk to you tomorrow.